Welcome back to DFL, only on DBS. You have until 9:30 tonight to send in your answers. Quick reminder of giveaways. To win a beautiful greenhouse or garden plant from Cecilia Augustine, name the 5 well-known women that we showed you earlier. To win a gift in a balloon, answer this. Vows Plus shares its showroom with another company. What's the name of that company and its location? To win a spa treatment from Touch Therapies, tell us where Touch Therapies is located. To win a Mac pack, who are the current faces of Viva Glam? To win a cake, tell us where Tats Cakes is located. And to win a pair of shoes from DFL, name 3 DFL sponsors. 1 must be the sponsor that provided the shoes, 1 must be an insurance company, and 1 of your choice. We're talking about children in St. Lucia who aren't being treated properly, child abuse. We actually defined those terms before the break, and at the end of the last break I asked Beverly John and Beverly Ann Poyot what it felt like to work in such a heartbreaking field and career. Beverly, what does it feel like to be working in a place that's I just think it's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking, and sometimes it can feel overwhelming. It can feel very sad, very defeated, and it's like nowhere to turn. And that's not so much because of the work. The problem is the lack of resources. When you have a child and you see a child is living in a situation where you know abuse is happening, and you cannot have that child removed to a place of safety, that is heartbreaking. And those are the things that cause me to have sleepless nights. We do have some cases where we successfully find carers and have those child removed and placed in a home where they can be nurtured and cared for. And there are many that I think I can actually remember. Mm-hmm. But for every success story, there's probably another 10 that we were not able to remove.
How huge is this problem in St. Lucia?
It's a major problem. I remember when I was at Human Services, though, the caseload was well over 200 per social worker. And that's
200 children.
That's child and family cases. Children and families, not 200
but
children,
didn't
200
we have a shortage
cases.
We had a shortage, didn't we, of social workers?
There is it's a short. When you talk about a shortage of social workers, it's like we have the vacancies, but we don't have enough social workers. We don't have a shortage of social workers. There are a number of persons out there who have either a certificate or an associate degree in social work. We have a shortage of social work positions. The structure is inadequate to meet the needs. The need is changing. This structure has been in place for maybe, 50 years, if not more.
Well, why isn't it changing?
That's a very good question. And the only persons you can ask are the persons who control like the public service and the government, not particular government, the government, because they're the one who has a structure, and they're the only one that can change the structure. A lot of it is finance, and again the same thing, resources. So if you have 8 social workers, and to increase from 8 to 36, you're looking at least another 20 plus wages to find. When you have a country which is a developing country who's struggling financially, how do you justify that, and where do you get the money from to fund it?
But what happens to these children in the meantime? Because
in the meantime,
what has been happening is that social workers, in as much as Human Services only has 8 social workers, we are seeing social workers emerging in other areas of government. Right now at the transit home we have 4 social workers, and they really are meant to augment those who are at Human Services, because we all under the same ministry. We have social workers who are coming up in other institutions like Comfort Bay Senior Citizens Home. There is now a position for a social worker. We have the hospitals who are now instituting social workers and so on. Even in the private sector, I am aware that while they are not social workers, but counseling is being implemented, and that alone can assist parents and families in the private sector who are having problems at home with their children. So there are a few strides being made, but really they are very, very small steps, and we would just like to see it being done at a quicker pace.
All right. Now, Beverly mentioned earlier, in terms of what was heartbreaking to her, was the fact that sometimes there's nothing that can be done to remove
Yes.
those children
Yes.
from the places that they're being abused. Why can't they be removed?
Because of lack of places to put them sometimes. We find that our families are not as cohesive as we knew them to be, whereas in times gone by you would have a grandparent or a grand aunt who would simply say, I will take the child. Now we don't have that kind of thing because we have a lot of younger grandparents and everybody is still at work, everybody is still doing their own thing, and it is more difficult for that support and that extended family network to really come together and assist our children. And
But
that
if a
is the
child is
way-
being abused,
yes.
I'm sorry, if a child is being abused, why would you not? I know that we have to work, we need to make a living and so on and so forth, but if a child is being abused, surely there must be a way round trying to get that child away from the place that is bad for them.
There are persons that do that and persons that will do that, but a number of times there are other issues within the family dynamics, fear of the parents, or one parent or another parent, or because sometimes a grandparent has taken 3-4 of previous children from that same person.
Right.
And how can I take another child?
Yes.
You have these children, you need to be able to be
Well,
responsible.
if that is the case, I'm sorry, I mean, everybody knows me when I get on a... If that is the case, why are those, the people who are supporting the children,
Yeah.
but they can no longer support, why don't they go to the police? If the child is being abused, why don't they go to the police? Because if they did go to the police and the child was separated from the parent, wouldn't you have to find somewhere to put that child?
If you have a placement, it depends on availability. For example, I'm going back to a time before New Beginnings Transit Home. There was only one children's home in St. Lucia. That was Holy Family. Now that has been full since the time I've been in St. Lucia. That's 6 years. It's always been at full capacity. Very rarely they have been had a child move on and been able to take another child. So if you can imagine one children's home, and all we were dependent on is foster carers. If you place a child with a foster carer, you call a foster carer and says, it's only for a short while. It's an emergency. Take this child for us. It's only for a short while. A short while becomes 2-3 years. Because you cannot return the child home to their parents because the parents is not capable or deemed fit to have the child back. So that closes that placement to other emergencies. Imagine we have 50 placements, and here I am telling you, per social worker, there were 200 cases. Each case could have up to 6 children per family. So if you multiply that, you can imagine how many children we would have.
What are the numbers involved in terms of foster parents? How many? I mean, I know you may not be able to tell me how many we have, but how do people become foster parents if they wanted to?
Well, they go to the Division of Human Services and Family Affairs. There's a designated foster parent or adoptive fostering and adoption worker. They will be assessed, and they have to go through certain procedures, and then once they are passed, then they can become foster carers. We have a shortage of foster carers in St. Lucia, and it is always better for a child to be brought up in a home environment than any institution.
Yeah.
Sometimes the issue we have with children not even being placed into foster care is because, as we mentioned earlier, when that child is abused, there are so many other behavioral issues, and we need foster carers who are trained to be able to take care of those behavioral issues, because it's all well and good to put a child in foster care, but if the foster parent and the foster family is not able to address the behaviors that this child is presenting, then that placement breaks down. And so we're back to square one.
I'd like to talk a little bit more about that when we come back from the break. But viewers, you've got 10 minutes to answer the questions to win tonight. And remember, you can find the questions on delawfactorlive.com. I'm not going to repeat the questions again. I think you know them by now. And I want to talk about this very serious situation about child abuse in St. Lucia. This is the Law Factor Live on DBS. We'll be back in a moment. Oh, I get so annoyed.